Okay, so we went over the bumps in the last video, bumping on a surface with 3D textures. Now I want to cover diffuse and what diffuse is, because there's that diffuse, bump, and specularity. Those are kind of like the 101s of all materials. So let's look at crater. Okay, so we're going to make a little bit deeper gouges this time, but I need something like crater to do that. So crater, it has three colors. Okay, red, green, blue. So what I'm going to do is switch these out for our gray tones. I'm going to choose this is a gray tone. This is a gray tone. And black is a gray tone. Okay. So those gray tones, if I attach this now to bump, will give me this. A very cool, whoops. Oh, gotta reconnect that. I accidentally hit the delete key. There we go. So now you can see that it makes these really cool gouges and it looks like surface rust, right? And incidentally, if you hit 7 on the keyboard, I got this ability to now go into my light, 7 on the keyboard, and if you move your light around, you can now see it real time with the high quality rendering on. So turn high quality render on, and you have this. Okay, so very cool. Looks like rust or surface noise rust, gouges in some nature. And here, not many other attributes exist. I have the ability to melt, balance, and frequency. Of course, frequency, again, the larger the frequency, the more the abstract change. And then you can get these different kind of appearing of rust on the surface. Okay, and as you go over this way, it has a slight variation where it doesn't get pitted so much. So there's the frequency on the crater. So you can see yourself losing for days in here. You know, just with these 3D textures alone, I've only covered bump. But adding on top of bump, I also want to show you this. What is diffuse? Okay, and a perfect way to show you diffuse is if you click on this ball, I have the ability to have diffuse, and I can plug this very same one into diffuse. Okay, now let's look at this rendered. In the cracks, now, what happens is, since it's diffused, it doesn't allow any sort of light within those cracks. Now, these cracks are probably a little bit, like these shouldn't be diffused this much in these areas, because actually, diffuse should only probably affect little tiny areas in here, not whole surfaces. Okay? So, it's probably better to have two different nodes. One that attaches to bump, and the other one attaches to diffuse. The reason for this is because the gray values are going to be different on the diffuse. So I will break this connection. But, ergo, how do I copy this and make another one? Okay. Duplicate shading network. Allow me to duplicate that same one. And then I could attach that over to diffuse. It's a property that I have to use in the attribute editor to get to. So this can go into diffuse. And now I could choose maybe 3 different variations of black. Okay. The darker the black, the more diffuse it gets. So instead of black, let's choose something like white and then the wholer than black, the bottom one, is the part that actually gets diffused. So now let's look at it rendered. Okay, a little bit better. I can now see that these in here are getting a little bit more diffused. Okay, let's go back to this node. Pick a higher gray for that one. And this one, pick a higher gray value. Very good. So that's a little bit better. The diffuse is quite subtle compared to what it was before because the black value was just overtaking it. So that's how you duplicate a shading network. And now what I want to get into is some of the other utilities available to me in Maya that allows me to play with color a little bit more.